June 2, 1958. Virginia residents Richard Perry Loving and Mildred Dolores Jeter married in the District of Columbia. Upon the Lovings' return to Virginia, they were arrested for being in violation of Virginia's Code 2054, which declared marriages between whites and colored persons unlawful. After their one-year sentence was suspended, the couple relocated themselves to the District of Columbia and took their case to court. After many appeals over many years, their case was finally heard by the Supreme Court April 10, 1967. On June 12, 1967, the Supreme Court justices unanimously agreed that the ban on interracial marriages was unconstitutional. To many, it would appear the fight stops there. However, marriage equality is not the only struggle interracial couples are faced with. Interracial partnerships are subject to disapproval, conflict, alienation, and prejudice from others, and frequently cope with lower reported and perceived levels of social network support compared to those involved in same-race relationships. Violating social norms puts interracial partnerships at an increased risk for relational hardships. They not only have to negotiate racial and potentially cultural differences with their partners, but must also navigate acts of social aggression.
I think that, obviously I'm white, Chris is biracial. We kind of have our relationship viewed differently based on which one of us they're talking to. For me, people tend to point out the fact that he's Asian and the fact that, oh, you're dating an Asian man. It's not like, oh, your boyfriend, it's your Asian boyfriend. That feels pointed out quite a bit, and it's kind of looked as different or exotic, which is a big pet peeve of mine, is kind of being seen as I'm doing something different because I'm dating him. One of my biggest pet peeves is I have a lot of conversations with my friends and they'll be like, oh, you guys are really cute together, you have a good relationship, but I could never date an Asian man, or I would never see myself dating an Asian, or I'm not attracted to Asian men, which is so offensive to me. And because not only is it saying that our relationship is somehow less than or belittled or other, but it's also marginalizing an entire race of people and saying, I don't find you attractive at all.
For me, I feel like one of the things going into a relationship with Catherine, being that she's it's I'm one of the first things in my head is okay, well, are her parents gonna accept her being with me, Because there have been times where I have friends, we kind of laugh about it. Oh, my dad wouldn't want me to do this. It's kind of funny to joke about until you're actually in a relationship where it might be a problem.
Relational hardships are often caused by pressure from friends and family. For example, a couple may choose not to attend a family reunion or only have one partner attend. As you heard, there is often an added layer of complication when it comes to disclosure about interracial relationships because of the concerns about acceptance. And while research supports that these problems exist, there is little research on the struggles faced by interracial relationships on an interpersonal level.
I think that the biggest difficulty maybe that we've had with interpersonal communication is that there are things we just can't relate to each other with. So in the same way that I was talking about a challenge in relating to each other's families, we can also have challenges in relating to each other in certain ways. And some of them are real challenges. Some of them, stem from if Rich is having a challenge with his identity, or the kind of environments he's facing because of his race, and those are things that I can't relate to. But some of them are kind of simple, funny things as well. There was one time that he was watching this YouTube video about, what was it about? It was just things people deal with, growing up in a black household. And he was cracking up, dying, and at the end of it, I was just I just couldn't, I was obviously really supportive and oh, I'm sure that was funny for you, but I just really couldn't relate because it just wasn't things that I had grown up with.
I think that one thing we didn't think was an issue until recently, after the Elon conference actually that we went to, is how we view race and racism in our society. And obviously we're able to talk about this more civilly, but I know the reason it was a challenge is because when we first discussed these, I kind of assumed that she had the same thoughts and views that I did, but going into more detail, it was wow, you don't have the same views, and because of the fact that I can understand it one way and she's going to understand it a different way. So I think that was a big challenge we had for a period of time, just really realizing that we have different views on it and how to move forward in discussing it.
While race can be a source of complications for some couples, to others, race has never been a concern regarding interpersonal communication.
I don't really feel that we've had necessarily challenges as a result of me being biracial.
I think, one, I never looked at Kim. Even when the first day I met her, I knew she wasn't totally white. But never at any point did I look at her and say, interracial. I just never looked at that.
I don't really notice anything different just between our relationship. I don't talk to her any different. I feel like I don't even really recognize it as being something. It's not that I don't see color or whatever, but I just don't think it's necessary to even bring up, really. Like, I don't feel the need to.
We can talk, openly about like our cultures and stuff, because we both accept each other's cultures. I might have a question about hers, or she might have a question about mine, like why certain things are said, how they're said, when they're said, things like that. So it's just like, it's more of a learning experience. And since we both like to learn about new things and about people, it really works well.
I just think our relationship is just very open. We kind of talk about anything and everything, and it's just a matter of just mutual trust and kind of respect towards one another.
While some couples have struggles when it comes to interpersonal communication, most couples' communication is based on trust and mutual respect for one another. While interracial relationships should be seen as valid and equal to other relationships, it is important not to ignore the nuances that make them unique. Research supports that there are actually several advantages to being in an interracial relationship. Within intercultural romantic relationships, partners can become more attuned to the family background, cultural values, and religious beliefs of the other person.
So, you definitely start getting this feeling that, this identity is something that you can relate to, that you can share, and it's cool that, if, we have a house and we have children in that house, we can both imbibe them with values and experiences from both cultures because of what I've learned from Grace and what she has learned from me.
Right off the bat, what is the biggest advantage is definitely just expanding my knowledge and expanding my feelings and understandings.
I think I'm far more empathetic about different struggles that other cultures go through.
I think it's that open-mindedness piece that we talked about, the open acceptance and just kind of wanting to learn more about each other and then other people as well.
Yeah, all that. Gonna have cute babies. So that's gonna be what.
Okay, thanks, babe.
I'm just saying, this is proven fact.
So as you can tell, at the end of the day, these relationships are about love and based in love. Love does not know race, love does not know ethnicity, and love does not know skin color. Love is about mutual adoration and respect for one another, and therefore, all love is valid. Through this research, I have also proved that 80% of all interracial couples high-five after being interviewed.
The intention.
Wait.
1, 2, 3. Had to go Tootsie Pop on you. Ridiculous.